Hello and welcome back to Satisfactory. My name is Volcata, and today we are going to start getting this yard cleaned up a little bit more, just a little bit more, and we're going to get our rotor building up and online. Now, it's true that what we need next are motors, not rotors. However, in order for us to get those motors, we need the rotors. And unfortunately, in order to get the rotors, we have to do some things that, well, to be honest, I kind of wanted to put off. And I had reasons I wanted to put them off, but the math just does not agree with us. And there is a lot of math involved. And I debated on how to show you the math and talk through it. And what it came down to is that there is so much math behind what we have to do that by the time I get done explaining the entire logic behind how we got to where we are, we'd be halfway through the episode. And we wouldn't have any time to do the stuff that we need to get done. We'll talk about it as much as we can as we go. I'm going to try to do as much as I can in real time, to show you the building. I'm going to do what time lapsing I can do. And we are definitely going to get our rotors up and running today. So let's cut this intro short, and that way I can start talking about all the stuff that has to be done. All right, so before we get going, there's a couple of things I want to go over. First of all, I want to mention that in the bottom left, you'll see that I'm at full health. Without getting too deep into it, I've always had a problem with the fact that this game caps you at 3 health on your regen. It doesn't fit with the theme of the game. It's not a combat game. And I could really go deep into this, but suffice it to say, it also doesn't help with content creation. It doesn't do any good when it takes several hours to make an episode, to die somewhere far off and have to run all the way back out just because you were only at 3 health and a spitter spawned inside the terrain and is shooting out from cover. So suffice it to say, I decided I'm going to go ahead and install a mod that gives us very slow health regen. That took a long time to get to full health. Still no good for combat. We still have to pay attention to what we're doing, but it just removes the cap. And that's just something we're going to use from now on. Again, this is a vanilla series. All the content in it is vanilla, all the buildings and the recipes and everything is all vanilla. But this is a little quality of life improvement that I felt would be helpful for furthering the series and helping also, again, with just a little bit smoother on content creation. All right, that being said, before we get to building things, I'm going to give you the very, very quick cliff notes of the math behind what we're doing. We're not going to go into it in big detail. We'll try to cover some of that as we build. But I want to go over what our overall goal is. Our final goal, of course, is to get to motors. We're not going to do that today, but it drives all the math. So one motor machine is using 10 rotors per minute, 10 stators per minute. We're not going to build a building for one machine. If we just did one machine, it would just end up in the yard with all the other stuff, and that's compounding the problem that we're trying to solve. So we're going to say we want 3 to 4 machines. Seems reasonable. If we looked back at our stators, we are producing 32 stators per minute right now. We don't need them for anything else. It's going to be a fairly easy thing to upgrade later on to get more stators. But 32 would mean 3 of these machines, and that's perfectly fine. It's a good, reasonable starting point. So we're setting a goal of 3 machines for motors. That informs our math for everything else. That means we need 30 rotors per minute. Well, if we look at our rotor recipes, the regular rotor recipe only produces 4 per minute. That's a ton of machines. We don't want that. We're not going to do that. Let's just get out of there. We have our alternate recipe, however, that produces 11.25. So 3 of these machines would supply our 3 motor machines. Now this math is a little weird. 11.25, 22.5, 195. If we do a little bit of calculation, we'll see that 4 of these machines comes out to really good math. 4 of these machines means 90 copper sheets, 780 screws, which is a lot, and 45 output. It rounds it all off beautifully. So our target is going to be 4 machines. Now, we'll go over screws later. We can hit that target. It's a whole thing into itself. Don't worry about it for now. Copper sheeting, however, is a problem. 22.5 per minute. Again, we would need 90 per minute in order to run 4 of these machines. If we hop over here and we look at copper sheet, we only get 10 per minute out of this machine. That means we need 9 of these machines. And if you'll recall, we really don't have any copper coming in. We have a total of 120 copper coming in right now. And of that 120, we have 3 of these machines going. That means we would need 6 more machines. However, 6 of these machines is another 120. We can do 120. That's a Mark 1. We just bring it up to Mark 2. That's another 120. Congratulations, we have all the copper we need. So that's our math for today. Now, we're not going to do a full upgrade for copper today. The reason we're not going to do a full upgrade is because if you were around for one of the previous episodes, you might have seen that we got a different copper recipe. Actually, we got a couple of them. Right now we're doing 1 for 1. Not great ratio. It's enough. It's going to get us through today. It's what we're going to use for today. We have this one, which we could use, but, you know, we go from 1 to 1 to 1 to 2. And if we look at this one down here, we go to 1 to 2.5. So this is our best recipe. However, it uses a refinery and we don't have those unlocked yet. I wanted to put off upgrading our copper until we had refineries, but that's just not going to happen. Not truly. So for today, we are going to just go to our Mark II. My inventory must be full because it looks like we left stuff on the floor. It's not full now, thanks to that build. And what we're going to do is we're just going to temporarily build 4 more smelters up here. Because once we get to the other recipe, we're going to have no smelters on copper. It's going to be all refineries. So there's no reason for us to rebuild the building that converts all of this to ingots. Oops. If we're going to just turn around and get rid of it as soon as we move all of it up to refineries. So this is the start of our upgrades. We need 120 more copper. We just increased our copper intake by 120, which is perfect. We're going to add 4 more smelters, and what we're going to do is we're probably just going to put them up on the roof. We're not even going to build a building around it because this building is going to be retrofitted or tore down in the near future. We'll meld that output with this belt here, and then we'll send it all on to the building that we already have. So we're going to jump cut real quick here after all 4 of these are up and it's melded, because again, this is entirely temporary. We're not going to worry about how it looks. We just need it to function for now. So, fancy video transition here. All right, there they are. This setup is so dirty that I'm not even going to show you it. Let's just pretend this didn't happen, and make sure we have a upgraded to Mark III. And let's head on to the next stage, which is to upgrade the actual building that will use all of this copper. It's always fun riding belts and upgrading them at the same time. Oh. I've been meaning to show you something. I promised at some point that I would show you. Actually, we're going to wait until the autosave happens. I mentioned at some point that we needed a bunch of these obelisks because of these guys. Bye-bye. No more gas for you. Oh, you got something to say too? So do I. Oh no, tree! Oh. Alright, well. Oh, do I risk it? Yes, I do. Yeah, let's see if we can put it on, like, near him. The ground, see if I'll get him. Ha! Ah. Show those guys, and they will not respawn. Or they shouldn't. Alright, back to our upgrades. Now, as I was saying, it is fun to ride the belts and upgrade them at the same time. And this building here, I've kind of debated over how to do this because I really like this building. I love the way it came out. I think it's very nice. And I really didn't want to add more floors to it. And we could, and honestly, we probably should. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to compromise. We need 6 more machines because we need 9 total of the copper sheeting. We have 3 already going in there. All the extra copper is going to be dedicated purely to copper sheeting. And we can make this building wider or longer, I guess, and fit more in here. And we can actually extend it over here like a block. And we can extend it a couple blocks over here. And that would give us enough room to have 7 machines per floor from the 4 we have, which means we could add exactly 6 machines. But that puts us at 7 machines per floor, which is a weird number. And if we add more floors in the future, then, 6 is kind of better than 7, usually, for the math. And to be honest, we have a lot of space in here. Think about this. If we could go to 8 per floor, we don't need 8. But it's even math is better. So let me consider this real quick, and we may add a floor, but we're definitely going to extend it backwards and forwards and start building from there. All right, I went ahead and decided. I don't want to add another floor today to this building. And since we already have an unused kind of segment, we have enough room for an additional machine. We're going to expand it so that we can have 8 machines per floor. We don't need 8 machines per floor right now, but that will give us some better options in the future. And we'll just go from there. We'll figure out as we go where we're going to put each machine, how we're going to group them. Then we'll just go from there. So this is what it takes, right? We're gonna push this out 1. We'll rebuild the wall, and then we're gonna go extend the other side. Now, unfortunately, we're gonna run into a tree. It's gonna have to get cut down over here. We're gonna have to move all of our outputs. I figured I'd have stuff in my inventory here.
Breaking news from Earth. Widespread chaos and mayhem. World President urges all citizens to do their part and harvest alien artifacts.
Okay, apparently we have an alien artifact nearby that I haven't picked up, considering I haven't picked any of them up. So just ignore her for now. All right, this tree is going to have to go. I don't want to lose that tree. So if you remember last time, if you saw that episode, I cut down a small tree, which accidentally cut down a big tree. And I reloaded an old save and went back and tried again until I got the radius right. So I'm going to save right now. And we're going to figure out what it's going to take this tree out without destroying that tree. Now I'm almost certain that taking this down is going to take that out. So let's see if there's anything in the yard here that we can take. It's a little further away. All right, this should be good. Nope, there went the big tree. Time to reload. All right, attempt number 2. Maybe back here? That's awfully far. All right. You know, I suspect that the title of this episode is going to be "No Large Trees Were Harmed at the Making of This Episode." All right. Where were we? Oh, yes. So, pretty simple to extend, right, the building. And what we're going to also have to do is determine what machines we want grouped on what floor. The end result should be 90 total copper sheeting over the 30 that we have currently. So let me get to moving things around, and we'll come back to it. And you can barely tell that we did anything to the copper building. Other than apparently forget to put the windows in. So that's going to be it for copper. Let's real quick like. I think we're already around the right color, weren't we? Here we were. We did have to make some changes. We moved a lot of machines around, or changed what machines were doing what. So of course we have 240 coming in. And we did change the order of the output. This is now copper sheet, and that's now the copper wire. I swapped the two, kind of out of necessity. So the first floor is 4 wire in a row, 2 of which are going downstairs, 2 of which are immediately going over to a cable manufacturer. And that's the same setup that we had before, except that we had the cable on a different floor. So I brought it up because now we have enough room, you know, to do them all together. And I brought them on the same floor, which kind of made sense. And I moved the wire down to the second floor because we were going to have 2 things going from the second floor to the first floor. That way we didn't have to transport as many things from the 3rd floor down. And then we have 2 right here that are copper sheeting. So we have them coming down from upstairs and merging and then going down to the bottom of it. So 2 here, 7 upstairs, which gives us our 9 machines for our 90 copper ore, or 90 copper sheeting. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 doesn't work. That is 140 per minute. We have 120 coming to this floor. Actually, you know what? We don't have to fix it. So the floor is being starved, right? We are trying to use 140 worth of copper ingots, which will be distributed, of course, to, you know, right here is the split. So we have 240 coming in. It's going 120 and 120. As long as we are not sinking our copper material, which we're not at the moment. This is a temporary thing. Since we're not sinking it at the moment, the second floor will back up, and then the extra will go up. And we'll have to increase this to a Mark III. This is going to be a temporary solution. Later on, we'll do something more complicated to solve for the numbers. But not today. Not today, because it's not going to hurt us right now, as long as we're not sinking copper, and for now we're not sinking copper. I'll probably come back between episodes and solve the splitting problem. That's going to be it for this part. Copper is done for our current needs, which means we need to now solve for screws. I mentioned that we're going to need 780 screws. Whew, that's a lot of screws. Fortunately, I've already worked out how we're going to do it. Now, we have, all of these 240 iron ingot belts going in and around all over the place. And these two right here are both Mark IIIs with 240 apiece on them. And when we originally built this building over here, they were both 120s. And 120 was going to here, the other 120 was going up to the next floor. Well, during our prep, before I started all of this, I actually split those lines. So they're now two Mark IIIs. All right, this is upgraded to Mark III now. That's coming in up right here, splitting and going to these 8 machines, and then it's splitting again and going up to the next floor for the other 8 machines. This line is not going anywhere. It's going up to the floor, but it's not connected to anything. So this right here is a free 240 ingots, completely untouched. What we're going to do is we're going to make 2 more floors onto this building. And what we're going to do is do something kind of clever to make the math work out. So we're just going to toss 1 machine down here. 2 machines, actually. So what we need are screws. And we're going to start implementing our cast screw recipe. As you can see, that's kind of on a funny number, 12.5. Let's get this one over here to it as well. And let's grab ourselves some ingots real quick. And let's power this machine temporarily. This is purely a demonstration machine. So, 4 of these machines, so 12.5 at 4 of them, will be 50 ingots per minute. If we take a 5th machine and we underclock it to 40 per minute, well, this won't update until it starts to make, it goes down to 10 per minute. So that will give us 4 machines equaling 50 per minute plus this 10, so that's 60 per minute. 60 per minute is a good number for us, right? Because we're at 240, we split that 4 ways. Also, that makes the output good, because this is 40 per minute here. These are 50 per minute, so 4 of these together is 200 per minute. With the 40 over there is 240 per minute, so 1 belt, 240 per minute. So that means a cluster of 5 of these, with 1 of them being underclocked, is 60 input, 240 output. So those are very easy numbers for us to work with. So on the next 2 floors, we're going to have, instead of back-to-back 4s, we'll have back-to-back 5s. And all the numbers will come out quite nicely. And then we'll worry about the belting of those to the rotor building. So I'm going to hurry up here because we have actually spent a lot of time. And I'm going to get to upgrading this building, and that's going to be a time lapse because we're also going to fix the appearance of the building, give it its makeover that's long overdue. So let's get to it. Boy, that is a big building. I think it's our biggest building so far. Even larger, that's about the same height, I guess, as our smelter building. Oh, but it came out quite nice. You know, I went with the black and blue theme because the rods are the first two manufacturing floors and screws are the second two. And you know, the screws have that blue casing around them, kind of around this color. So that was why I went with this color scheme and kind of a color fading between them. But you know, if this seems weird, you know, stop by the comment section. Let me know. You know, I love to get the feedback on you know, some of the decisions we make and see what people think of it. But as you can see, we have 4 outputs here. These 4 will go to the rotor building, and you know, the good news is that we finally got this building taken care of. We finally have dedicated screw production rate. The bad news is that we are running out of time, and we're not going to have time to do the rotor building today. That's unfortunate, but that's okay. You know, we got copper up high enough to be able to support our rotors, and now we have our screw manufacturing up high enough to support it as well. And all we need to do really is connect the power. The power is run throughout the building, it's just not connected to the exterior. And that will turn all these on. The reason that I don't have them running right now is because they're not going to go anywhere. They're literally going down to that dead end downstairs. So the output for all of them is coming through the floor on the top rod building. And the reason I did that was because that lines it up a little bit better with the platforms out there, you know, where the building will be, so that it'll come out a little more smoothly. And what will happen is that we're going to supply more screws to that building than it needs. So there will be a return that will come back of, I think, about 180 screws, and then we'll have some kind of storage probably downstairs for that. And at the moment, we are still running half of the rods into screws. So this hasn't been changed out. But all of this will go because we won't need it anymore. And this rod supply going into the screws will become dedicated rods. Let's run upstairs real quick, take a look at it from the inside. So I put a little bit of mood lighting in here, a little bit of blue. And kind of, you know, brought the ceiling in a bit. Well, I think it looks pretty good. I'm happy with the way it is. You know, it's kind of a big building, and I didn't want to just have a generic flat roof. But yeah, it's going to be all. You know, we got a little fancy corners here. All right, let's get back to the house. Yeah, look at the rod and screw building. Isn't it majestic? Oh, it's very nice. Our complex is really becoming a complex. So that's so fantastic. I'm so glad that we don't have that, you know, half open yellow box anymore. Not that I minded the yellow so much, but it was clearly under construction for far too long. But we got it done. This is very nice. It won't be all the screws that we'll use in the future. You know, we're going to need more screws later on. We will be using more screws for our reinforced plate, but we're going to use a steel screw recipe for that. It's a whole different thing. Don't worry about it. And at some point, we're going to need to grow that plate building because it's only using half of the input that's coming at it. But for now, we're more than happy with the amount of plate we have coming in, so it's not something we have to deal with for now. But that's going to be it for today. You know, our goal is to get rotors, but what we accomplished was getting all the groundwork in to be able to make rotors, and that will also allow us to springboard straight into motors because the foundation of the production pyramid has now been widened and secured better. So this was a lot of good work that we got done today, and I'm very glad that we knocked it out. You can even tell that the copper building has been enlarged. It's still tucked away there in the forest. We still have a bunch of tall trees. So yeah, I like how we're we're getting this to work with the environment and making it look industrial without having to strip everything out. I'm very pleased indeed. But thank you very much for coming out. If you liked it, leave a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode.